Alright, welcome to buying a Subaru Part 2. So we actually had it back home now. Well, my home. And we're going to actually take a wheel off, inspect some of the boots and the other stuff. If I'd had my wits about me, I would have pulled this thing apart, or have him pull it up on the ramp at the dealership. Good. Those are nice and dry. We'll put a little anti-seize on those when they go back together. They come off nicely. Yeah, the tire tread actually is really good shape. That's one of the nice things about this particular car is it had really good tires on it. Nothing like buying a used car and having to spend $600 on a fresh set of tires. All right. There you go. Grab the flashlight. All right, so bring you in here. Kind of hard to. Let me get you. Checking how much material is left on the brakes. This one actually looks pretty good. There's probably 3/16 of an inch or better of brake pad, which, I mean, these don't have a super lot. We do have, see, those bushings are a little cracked, which, cars get rubber goes bad over time. It wouldn't look so bad except for the suspension's all distended right now. Also got brake lines look okay. Nice. We don't have any cracking in there like my wonderful car had the other day. But yeah, all the get you in position. There's the camera. Yeah, so you always want to take a look at your CV boots. They ain't got any kind of cracking in them. They need to be replaced immediately, because you end up getting a bunch of dirt in the CV, or the grease for the CV shaft, and bad things happen when you do that. It starts eating everything up. Everything looks pretty good on this side, so we'll just go and work our way around to the rest of it. Found one anomaly because we had this oddball lug nut, this big tall thing, and come to find out why, it looks like at some point the threads got all galled on this stud, and they actually sheared the end of the stud off. It doesn't look too bad. It looks like there's plenty of thread engagement, but seeing as it's kind of a hard thing to change out, but I mean, you can see how different the end of it looks. They buggered it up compared to a factory stud. So more than likely what will happen is when we have all the parts on hand and we feel like tearing it apart, we'll unload this shaft, unbolt everything, and then press this stud out and put in a fresh stud, and we'll change the lug nut at the same time. So as much the same story as the front. You can't, it's so hard to get a camera down in here, but yeah, there's quite a bit of material left on the pad. There you go. There you got a little shadow. You just see the edge of the backing plate and all that, but there's almost a 1/4 inch of material in here. All the rubber bushings, everything looks a lot better in the back here than it did in the front, and the front's not bad. I mean, we can wait on that. Might even attempt to fix them once when we do the stud on the front. But yeah, so far so good. And again, with nice crusty stuff, get all this rust off of the flanges. And I always like to, just like everything I work on, so you don't end up with a seized stud. break out the anti-seize and just give a little dab on each one of the studs. And then I've more recently started putting a slather just right around this flange ring. Kind of keeps the crustiness at bay down in there, so you don't end up having to sledgehammer brake rotors off, because that's really inconvenient. But yeah, so far so good. Just gotta check the other side, then we'll maybe hook up and run a diagnostic check on it, make sure there's no outstanding engine codes. Surprise, surprise! The same condition that caused the front damage happened here in the rear. I went to pull this lug nut off, and it actually just totally wrecked the threads and everything else. So I guess we're going to have officially have a repair video when I pull this hub apart and put in a new stud. So good times, good times. But yeah, so far everything under is getting, like I said, it's getting a little dark, a little hard to see out here. But yeah, so far nothing real major. I'll have to clean up these threads and see if I got a lug nut floating around to put on there temporarily till we can fix it. But not a big deal. It's a 2-bit problem on a used car. Yeah, so to kind of conclude our round one here, we have basically 2 wheel studs that need to be replaced. So our next video will be tearing apart the hubs and swapping those out, which I've never done before on one of these, so that'll be interesting. Yeah, 2 sets of these, new lug nut, new stud, for $12.57. So not too bad of a defect list on a used car so far. So anyway, yeah, the engine codes, there was no engine codes that came back with anything, which I kind of expected. So I figured this was a pretty good car. So anyway, till next time when we step into part 3, fixing defects.